Happy Preakness Day, everyone. Welcome to Pimlico Racecourse. The moment has finally arrived. I'm very pleased to be joined by Acacia Corsi next to me. Acacia, how excited are you?
Oh, it's always exciting. The Preakness is a wonderful race. We have a fantastic full card of racing coming up this afternoon with 14 races on tap, of course, highlighted by the 146th running of the Preakness Stakes, the middle jewel of the Triple Crown. Of course, you can catch all of that coverage on NBC as well, starting at 5 p.m., but we'll be with you the entire day.
And look at that picture right there. We saw Swiss skydiver, last year's Preakness heroine. Are we going to see a stretch battle like we saw last year between the Authentic and Swiss skydiver occasion? What a race that was.
I don't know. It'd be pretty hard to top that. I mean, you have Sunday Silence, Easy Goer, and then you've got the likes of Swiss Skydiver and Authentic, those epic stretch battles throughout history that come to mind, and we were really treated to a huge performance in last year's Preakness. I think we're going to have a great race today, though, and very excited to see who ends up taking home that beautiful garland of Black-Eyed Susans.
Yeah, I can't wait for that either. But before that, we do have a wonderful undercard to get through. Plus, we do have a Rainbow Pick 6 carryover. Isn't that marvelous? $116,000 and 207 already in the pot. I must admit, I do Pimlico every single day. We don't often have a carryover like that. I know at Gulfstream is a bit more usual, but this for us is big, Acacia.
Yeah, and it was a record day of handle yesterday at Pimlico Racecourse. We can't say thank you enough to our fans and bettors for continuing to support and wager the great sport of horse racing, particularly here in Maryland. Of course, last year we did not have any spectators on site. We were thrilled to welcome back a limited number yesterday and today as well, and it means a lot to us and everyone in the industry for your support. We smashed the record set in 2019.
And it is a wonderful day once again today. We had sunshine yesterday. You can see it behind us. The sun is out once again. The main track is fast. The turf is firm. Beautiful conditions.
It is. I'm actually a little bit warm now in my long sleeve dress. I was worried I was going to be cold, but I think we have a high of about 74, 75 today, which will be fantastic. Fast and firm. Yesterday, inside speed was really what you wanted to have. We did see some nice photo finishes too. Looking forward to a good day today.
Yeah, with a large judgment go gate to wire in the Pimlico Special, so indeed the speed was carrying well. As we'll get going with today's race card, first race of the day is a stakes event, mile and 16 for the Sir Barton, and all eyes are most likely going to be on the number 4 Hosier being the favorite, coming in for Bob Baffert, coming back from that Arkansas Derby run. We do have a video of one of his efforts a couple of starts ago when he was so game breaking his maiden. And just heard that we do not have the video in yet, but that's okay. Hosier, Bob Baffert, a trainee coming in here, of course, has run against much tougher company than he'll most likely see today. Very strong in the Grade 2 Rebel, though.
He was. He did win. He was second, behind his stablemate Concert Tour in the Grade 2 Rebel, which we'll see Concert Tour running in the Preakness a little bit later on. He was disappointing last time out in the Arkansas Derby. Now, he is a closer, and there was opportunity to close that day. Superstock upset the field after getting that perfect setup, and we didn't see anything from Hosier. He's the type of horse I still kind of question the distance a little bit. He's going the mile and a 16th as opposed to running longer, the mile and 3/16 in the Preakness. So I'm taking a slight shot against him. I think he's the horse to beat, but a horse that I do like a little bit is the number 3 Market Cap. And I remember seeing him last year as a 2-year-old actually, and just wanting him to go a distance of ground. I thought it was interesting. I'm not sure about the Laurel race back in October, but that Pimlico one last year in October, he was a main track only. So it's not like they were trying to get him on the turf. They were trying to find a dirt distance spot for him. And this could kind of be the place. It's a short field, in stakes opportunity, if he can potentially upset the apple cart.
Yeah, I use Market Cap underneath myself. He's been putting on weight and training marvelously, according to trainer Jerry Dreyer. I got the chance to see him December last year. I think they just gave him some time to fully develop and mature into himself. I agree. I like the distance for him here. He stays a long 5-month break. We'll see how he fares here against some tough hitting customers in this field. I used the number 5 Romp in my exacta coming in here for Shug McKay. Took a while to break his mating. More of a grinding type horse that I think is going to suit this 2-turn distance.
He's an interesting runner. He had a big layoff, and then or I should say a few months. He came back and tried Tampa Maiden Special Weight Company on the turf, and I don't think he's a turf horse. Then he went and he won by 9 for 35,000. He didn't really beat anybody in that race down at Gulfstream, and to be honest, I was a little bit concerned about him in that race in New York last time. He was able to gut out the victory. They do opt to run here instead of the allowance yesterday. Why not? It's a short field. You could potentially win a stake or get a stakes placed opportunity. It makes perfect sense. So we'll see what we get from him on the bottom side. The dam was grade 3 placed, and she was good going long. So we'll see if Romp does romp.
We'll see indeed as we'll move on to the second race. First level allowance going 2 turns, a mile and 16, 2 turns on the grass. But of course, the start of the early pick 5 as well. My ticket will be coming in shortly, 12% industry low takeout. Check all our selections out on pimlico.com as well. And our tickets will be posted right there. And we'll put them all on Twitter as well. In case you and I look towards the outside here in the number 10 Oceans map. Jose Ortiz aboard this Gregory Sacco trained gelding. Wonderfully bred dam, multiple stakes placed on turf going long. Had momentum last time out at Gulfstream Park. The gap closed on the rail. Further back than usual that day. Do you think he's going to be more forwardly placed?
He has to be. That's his best weapon, is his speed, and he hasn't shown that in the last couple. Now, he does get a rider who can be a little bit more aggressive in putting horses on the lead today in Jose Ortiz that I think is actually going to suit him very well. I've always liked this horse. I think you're going to like seeing him today. He's a beauty. He's always dappled out from head to toe. He always carries great weight. However, he's lost his best weapon in those last couple of starts. I think he is the lone speed in here if he goes, and I hope he does.
I agree. It always helps to perhaps get into more easier company when it comes to losing your speed and just getting back to winning ways. The number 5 Tapwood was gelded May 14. Has had a couple of days to get over that. Comes in here fresh once again. 2 back on the turf. I thought that was a very strong try down in Florida.
Yes, down at Tampa, he was running a stakes company last time. He ran well in that allowance 2 starts back, and that is where he broke his maiden for Mike Stidham, who during the winter at Tampa really just kind of dominates there. So I think him having the opportunity to go a couple of turns on the turf. He was gelded back in mid-March, as you mentioned. He's well bred. It just seems like they're trying to pick the spots smartly for him, and I do think that this fits as well. He has the opportunity to be more forwardly placed too, so that could be a benefit, and I like that he's been freshened up a little bit after those efforts at Tampa and now coming north.
I agree. So move on to our second stakes event of the day, the Grade 3 Chick Lang, race number 3, 6 furlong sprinting distance. And in case you go with the number 4 Jackson Traveler on top for trainer Steve Asmussen, such a wonderful Maryland bred. He's really been dominating the circuit here. I love to see him coming back here. Such an abundance of speed. We do have his replay at Oakland from last time out, where he broke like a rock. We didn't see the start there, and then he continued through the lane, incredibly professional.
Yes, I wanted to show the start because he was so sharp out of the gate, but we can even see right here that he's just able to sustain that speed, and to me, that's the benefit of Jackson Traveler. He won the Bachelor last time out at Oaklawn Park. Of course, Steve Asmussen wintering at Oaklawn in the gazebo. He was just beat, and I think that he was a little bit up against it, able to turn the tables last time in the Bachelor, which came up a pretty salty field. You have Casadero, who's another one for Steve, who was a very precocious 2-year-old that did end up finishing second in that race. And I think that Jackson Traveler, with that early speed that he does have, and the fact that he is so good at this 6 furlong distance, makes him a big player in here. But his stablemate is fast too.
Yeah, I use the number 2, Mighty Mischief, that low draw. Ricardo Santana Jr. rides. Steve won this, of course, last year with the Open, so very heavily handed once again in here. I feel like he is very, very zippy early. Perhaps he'll give Jackson Traveler a good run for his money when the gates open. Outside draw last time out, and he had to come over, but that didn't stop him from still using his speed early and kicking clear. Much the best there. Relatively unexposed, but talking about Jackson Traveler really quickly, mentioning that I love the fact that he went on to Oakland Park, has been competitive in those stakes events, in comparison to me seeing him here in Maryland, where sometimes perhaps he hasn't faced some of the horses he'll be facing today. So that was very encouraging to see. And then both of us used the number 6 Willie Boy underneath. 2 strong efforts last time out in his 2 races in Florida. Comes in here just half a length short of a stakes victory. that day.
He doesn't want to go 7 furlongs. He did win a stake 2 starts back, and it was on a very, very wet track, but there was a lot of speed in there. And while he did end up sending, I just really feel like he was the best horse in the race. You had Lauda Speed come back to win really impressively in an allowance next time. There was Roderick, a very well bet, over bet Wesley Ward horse in that field as well. And he was coming out of trying 2 turns in the Holy Bull, which he does not want to do. He was part of that early pace duel. Now, in the Hutchison, he was forward, and the other horses setting the pace just completely faded while he was able to run on. So he was much the best in there. And I think that it could be a very hot pace in this spot.
Agreed.
The reason I picked Jackson Traveler is because I think he is the speed of the speed. And seeing how the track was playing yesterday, I feel like that's going to be an advantage as well.
Yeah, very close for me between the 2 Steve Asmussen trainees. But indeed, Willie Boy underneath, banking on that pace setup. That can certainly be a wonderful race again as well. Race number 4, Philly's first level allowance on the turf again, mile and 16. Acacia, you landed on the number 2, Leraz, which I did as well. We see this quite similarly. It's always encouraging when we agree. She has that ideal turf running style, remaining tactical yet coming with a strong close.
And it's the same owner. It's just a trainer change to Chuck Lawrence, who's very, very good with getting horses ready to roll out of Fair Hill there and not taking away any of their kind of natural early pace running style too. So I'd imagine that this one will be tactical in this spot. I just think overall, though, she hasn't won in a while, and she did win in that off-the-turf affair at Indiana Grand. Her numbers, her Buyer speed figures that she's been running just makes her look like she is just a bit faster than some of the other ones that she faces in here.
Yeah, I used the number 6, Judy Blue Eyes, in my exacta. Very quick turnaround. 8 days ago, she won on the turf going long right here at Pimlico with a little bit of moisture in the ground. But her return to turf and going long was very impressive to me. And they didn't hustle her up front. She kind of bid her time mid-pack and then came with a strong run. Claudia Gonzalez turning horses around that quickly does very well. 27% winner. So when he feels like they're ready to go once more, he brings them back.
Good to know that, as they do come around pretty quickly. And the number 5, Good Life Cider, is coming in off of a layoff, but she was running against some good competition and just was clearly off form before that layoff. So I think followed by some time away for Mike Matz is telling. And the Michael Matz, John Velasquez angle, that jockey trainer angle, has always been one of my favorites. And Johnny, of course, with 3 victories yesterday.
Yeah, if anyone is riding high, it's currently Johnny Velasquez, who's coming into this stakes day again, strong-handed, and of course in the Preakness will be riding Medina's Spirit. So it'll be very intriguing to see if he can break his duck for the Preakness. Has never been able to win it before. It's had 3 seconds, but we'll get to that in just a second. Race number 5, we're sprinting on the main track once again. 6 furlongs, first level allowance. Acacia, you landed on the number 7, which is Sugar Daddy. JD Acosta rides for Claudio Gonzalez. We're just mentioning Claudio's been such a mainstay on the Maryland circuit, one of our leading trainers. I love a fresh Claudio horse coming in. This horse hasn't been seen since the end of February. We know that just, a month or 2 really gets them back into form for him.
Well, the name kind of makes me laugh a bit with Sugar Daddy, but
I think
beyond that being funny, this horse took a lot of money before the layoff too, which I thought was notable. Was the favorite 2 back at about even money, beaten by just a head, and it does come in here fresh, which I like, and overall just has been very consistent. Another thing that I like about this horse, who also has some tactical ability, some tactical speed, and I just thought that he was one that did stand out in what I thought was a very tricky field. He has the benefit of coming in a little bit fresh and just having an overall consistent resume.
Yeah, I used the number 10, Abuelo Paps, on top. I know you didn't get to him, but by all rights, he would have gone up to second allowance level company, but he got DQ'd last time after such a game performance in front with some company. Abuelo Paps, to me, it took him a long time to finally get that win, so it was a bit of a hard luck story there. So I'm rooting for him coming back.
No, I know it is tough because he's just took him a while to break through to that next level, and that was a little bit of the reason that I ended up not using him, because can you trust him? And now facing a pretty wide open field, what happened last time with the DQ is that he was really trying to get out really badly, and he did end up hurting and drifting into another foe. So I think that he's got to keep a straight course. He does have the outside post to try and work out that trip, but he had been kind of not the winning type prior to that. The number 2 is one that I had some interest in breaking news. We saw Ron Moquette and Joel Rosario with a very nice winner yesterday, who was the favorite too, but this one coming in from Oaklawn, having faced some solid horses there. Another one that overall is consistent, not exactly a winning type, but I thought could potentially grab a piece.
Yeah, both of us see this field quite differently. 10-6, 4-7 for me, 7-2, 5-4 for Acacia. Race number 6 is the Grade 3 Gallauret Stakes, a mile and 16 on the turf course here. And well, I landed on the number 5, Mean Mary. I know you're trying to beat her here in this spot, but let's have a look at her Diana run, which was such a tenacious performance. She had Rushing Fall breathing down her neck. Of course, Rushing Fall came back to take champion turf mare honors, but what a game mare this is, and what a hard knocking, loss there. I remember speaking with Graham Motion afterwards. He was heartbroken. What a performance.
Well, unfortunately, Graham has had multiple second place finishes in the Diana, but has not been able to win it. And this was, I'm sure, one of the strongest chances, as Mean Mary is very, very consistent. She does have that early speed. For me, coming back off a layoff, and I felt this might be a little bit tight, a little bit short for her. I know that she has been able, obviously, running behind a champion, going 1 mile and an eighth, which is a bit short for her in the Diana. She was able to run very well. I remember speaking to Graham before that Diana, interviewing him and saying that they were trying to point for the Breeders' Cup, which is 1 mile and 3/16. So they have to see if she's able to run a little bit shorter in that 1 mile and 3/16. You said, again, I really wish it was 1 mile and a quarter.
Yep.
Now, she does have that early speed. It's a short field. The other entrant for Graham, Tuned, is out of the race. She is the controlling speed. She's the class of the field, that's for sure. But is it just going to be a little bit sharp? And I thought the number 3, Flighty Lady, could potentially be the one to upset a little bit. She looked fantastic last time in New York for her U.S. debut for Chad Brown, who does have a couple in here. And she has shown speed in Europe, which is a trait that we don't see too much, and I think transfers really well over here to U.S. racing.
I love that you highlight that. That was one of my notes, the fact that in Europe she's always been forwardly placed, either on the lead or just off it. In general, some of the turf horses that come over have a running style that doesn't always translate as well to the U.S. circuit, where you want to be forwardly placed. So Flighty Lady kind of has that going for her. Should get a tactical trip once again. She was third in Group 1 at Longchamp. Maxime Guillon rode her that day. That is the elite venue. That is exactly where you want to be with turf horses coming over. She is a bit of a classy filly too. I loved her stateside debut. Of course, they put her in a spot that they thought would give her a good experience, and she duly delivered here. To me, I still think Mean Mary is the one to beat in this spot, but I love that you used the number 3, Flighty Lady, underneath. I used the number 6, Feel Glorious, in second here for trainer Christophe Clement. Nearly caught multiple Group 1 winner Got Stormy on her return in the Grade 1. Excuse me, I was doing my Group 1, Grade 1 switcheroo here. Grade 3 Honey Fox, which shaped up as a much tougher affair than it looked like to me.
It was an incredibly deep race. It was also too short for her. She wants to go longer than 1 mile, as she does have that late closing kick. I love this mare. She's a little bit on the smaller side, but she just has this big, powerful kick, and she is so consistent. She runs every single time. Sweet By and By upset her in the Sand Springs last time because she had a tactical advantage. While Feel Glorious tends to come from off of it, Sweet By and By had that tactical kind of early pace advantage, and I think really just got the better trip that day. She's also a very talented mare too. But Feel Glorious, nothing but love for her. She's so consistent, and she deserves a graded stakes win. Unfortunately, she comes here with a 5-horse field, and she has to run against Mean Mary.
Yeah, unfortunately, a salty 5-horse field in that race. Race number 7, 2 other than optional claiming event, 2 turns, 1 mile and 16 on the dirt. Acacia, you and I both go towards the outside using the number 10, Mischief Afoot, as our top selection. Jimmy Toner trains. Jose Ortiz takes the ride. Well regarded in the Harrison Johnson Memorial, but Courtmaker that day took his chances up front. Victor Carasto dominated, and this is a closing style gelding. So that day, no pace whatsoever in the Harrison E. Johnson Memorial. Had no run to go, nothing to do there. I'm putting a line through that. He then comes back in that 2 other than event on the 8th of April and closes very gamely. No one had an answer for him there. Did get DQ'd, but to me, that was the return to form that I was looking for.
Hey, he lugged in pretty badly last time. They were 4 across the course at one point, and drifting out. He was just kind of all over the place last time out. So let's see if Jose Ortiz can keep him straight, have him with a straight course in here, because that's going to be the key for him. But I agree. I mean, he was running against Stakes Company going a mile and an eighth, 2 back, so I'm willing to be forgiving of that. Before that, he actually had a good second place finish down at Gulfstream at a high level allowance company too. So I think that he is in pretty good form if you're willing to be forgiving of that stakes try, which I am.
Yeah, I am as well because, as I mentioned, there were excuses there in terms of the race flow. The number 5, Macklemore Avenue, Mary Epler trains. Louis Size takes a ride. This is a horse that I've seen over and over and over again on this circuit. Such a tough gelding. Was running for trainer Brittany Russell's doing very well for a while on the turf, but then renewed himself when getting on the main track, and it's just been ever consistent since.
What a good claim this horse has been, too, for 16,000 back in November, and then went on to win his next 3 races. A very, very good claim for a sharp outfit. He's in great form, beaten just by 3/4 of a length last time out. You have to respect a horse like this that shows up every time. And once again, Claudio Gonzalez seems to have a good chance with a horse that just missed last time out, and that's Hannelise Houdini.
Hannelise Houdini, also one of the geldings that always comes with a sharp closing turn of fin. You want to be looking for him late. As we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back after the commercial at race 8.
They're off in the Preakness.
Stakes action plenty on the undercard on this wonderful Preakness day. Race number 8, the James W. Murphy over a mile on the turf kickstarts the Rainbow Pick 6 sequence, for which we have a stellar carryover, 116 grand in the pot. And our analyst Ron Nicoletti, who will be joining us later this afternoon, created a ticket for us. Let's see how he plays it. $97.20. He is going deep, but you know what? It's worth it with a carryover like that and plenty of new money going in here. He used the 1, the 3, and the 8 here in the James Murphy. I used the number 8 on top myself, so completely agree with his selection. TD Dance, Brad Cox is possibly going to be very tough to beat in this spot. And then in race 9 in the Skipat, he uses the 1, the 5, and the 8 here. I like the number 5, Chubwagon, myself a fair bit. And then the number 8, French Empire, another Brad Cox trainer. Javier Castellano aboard once more. She's going to get the perfect pace scenario in the Skipat with lots of speed on her inside. The race number 10 is Jim McKay. He uses the 1, the 4, and the 13. I like the 1, Boulder. The number 4, the Critical Way, most likely going to take all the money here with Louis Size, Speed Rider on a speed horse. Race 11, he goes a bit tighter in comparison to some of his others, like 1 and 8. The number 1, Lakai on the rail, has renewed himself. 8-year-old that is still fresh and kicking. He's been looking phenomenal on the track. And the number 8, Special Reserve for Mike Maker, going to be very strong in there as well. And then race 12, he uses the 1, the 5, and the 8. And then in race 13, the Preakness, he uses Medina Spirit, Midnight Bourbon, and Concert Tour on the outside. Also my selection. So Ron and I are seeing this quite similarly here as we'll get back to race number 8. $97.20 ticket. He's investing, and I think it'd be worth for everyone else to follow his lead there. Go deep because the payout could be life-changing. Race number 8, the James W. Murphy, 1 mile on the beautiful turf course that you can see behind Acacia and I. It's been, kept in tip-top condition here. And Acacia, the number 5 is your top selection. Extra Sexy Big Daddy. Now that's quite the name too. We've seen a couple of names already. First time going along on the turf was at Stakes Company for this gelding. I think he's going to have a better experience even second time around.
Well, if you watch the replay last time out, he was keen. He was really high-headed. He was very hard to handle last time out on the turf. They started asking into the turn, and then he just didn't have anything left because he'd expended so much energy early on. That was also in the Woodhaven where he was 34-1, running behind Hard Love, who's incredibly talented. So I think that this is a good spot for him coming back for just his second try on the turf. He was my price play of the day. I see that you found him as well. But I think that this is a better spot for him. He has some natural speed. I hope that they use it, as he wasn't on the lead, and you could tell that he was resenting that in the way that he had his head carried early on in the race last time out.
And my top selection is the number 8, TD Dance. Brad Cox brings him over. Javier Castellano takes the ride. We have a video of his last efforts at Fairgrounds. He allowed the front runner and the chasers to kind of get away, but he gradually started gaining on them, took over in the stretch, did hang a little bit inwards, didn't he?
And he did. He lugged in a little bit, but I think that the other horse in the green cap was coming out a touch there. It's race riding in the stretch as well. Honestly, he got a perfect trip. He's still a little bit green, but he had a perfect pace setup in this race, and that's why I wanted to highlight that because, yes, he's a logical player in here, but he is coming in off a perfect trip and running against a bit tougher today. I think that the Jimmy Murphy this year, which is a race I always love, I think it's pretty wide open, and this horse has been good all in all. We'll see if he can build off of that last race.
Well, what we just saw in that replay, I did like what I saw when he got in the clear by himself. He straightened up and was very professional hitting the wire. The number 7, Charles Chrome, both of us use underneath for Reeve McKay, son of Hall of Famer trainer Shug McKay as well. Carol Cedinho aboard. Now, Carol is still atop the jockey standings here.
She has been riding so well throughout the meet. This one's stretching out for the first time from a sprint distance and off of a layoff since November, too, having won at Indiana Grand. The 3 Kassim, this is one that I know I ended up using him in 4th because I think he's just kind of the next best horse, but I am just against him as far as the distance. I do not like him going long. Watch him win for fun now after this, but that is definitely just doesn't look at all in having seen him at the past as far as a horse that could potentially stretch out. Understand taking a try in here, and you can never underestimate Mike Maker, but if this one takes money, it's one that I don't think would offer much value, and I'd try to go against.
I think if he wins, you should jump in the winner's circle photo with them because
yeah,
it was because of you.
Them out. Yes,
yep.
Exactly. Exactly.
You helped out the team there. Mike Maker, phenomenal. His horses always turn up. Loves coming down to Pimlico here. Race number 9, the Runhappy Skipat, 6 furlong sprinting. Of course, the start of the late pick 5 as well. And Acacia, you created a ticket for us. 12% industry low takeout, like always.
$48 ticket, and I'm going to start light at the first couple of legs so that I have some room at the end to spread a bit. I think I've got the speed of Chubwagon and the closer, Casual in the first leg. In the Skipat, Jim McKay Turf Sprint. Once again, just 2 horses, the Critical Way, who's speed, and Boldor, who I think is a sneaky and could run a very big race in here. In the Maryland Sprint, in race 11, I'm too deep as well, just having to cut there to be able to spread a little bit later on. Strike Power and Special Reserve. I nearly singled Strike Power. I think this is going to be very tough. He's going to be very tough in there. In the Dinner Party, 3 deep. I wanted a little bit more coverage in that spot. Sacred Life is the favorite, but I think he's a touch vulnerable, though I will use him. And then I'm 4 deep in the Preakness with my top pick being Midnight Bourbon for a $48 play. However, Midnight Bourbon, as far as the live odds were yesterday, is the favorite when I last checked. So a lot of people on the Midnight Bourbon bandwagon. We'll see if I can still potentially get a bit of a price.
Yeah, I heard that as well, that Midnight Bourbon is taking a fair bit of money. I think everyone has started to catch on to this Steve Asmussen trainee who's been looking phenomenal in the mornings. Race number 9, the Runhappy Skipat here, 6 furlong sprinting for fillies and mares, 3-year-old and upward. And the number 5, Chubwagon, most likely going to take a little bit of money here. It's your top selection as well, Acacia. We do have a video of her last winning efforts in the Unique Bella where, gosh, she was just miles too good for them, wasn't she?
She's like the Parks Flash. She just keeps winning, and she is so fast. And looking at this, I actually covered this race on America's Day at the Races. We were doing Parks that day. And, of course, Unique Bella, Pennsylvania bred, paying tribute to her. She couldn't have done this any more easily. She beat some nice horses when she came to Aqueduct 2 starts back too in that allowance, and she went off as the favorite, and I think that she'll be the favorite in this spot too.
So
and it was just kind of a, well, how does she stack up to these New York horses coming in, having run in Pennsylvania bred company? And she just absolutely ran everybody else off their feet. She's a really, really cool horse, and I'm looking forward to seeing her today.
Yes, she's unbeaten. She does like taking the lead, and the reason that I'm trying to beat her in this spot is I think that there's going to be some pressure on Chubwagon from the number 6, Don't Let Sweet Fool You. Now, she had a no run whatsoever in the grade 3 Barbara Fritchie, where her and Hello Beautiful went head to head, blistering fractions early. Both of them backed up. That was over 7 furlongs. Love this 4-year-old filly getting back to 6 furlong distance. I think that suits her much better. Winner of the Primanetta, the Willa on the move. I think she's going to gun from the gates and pressure Chubb Wagon. I feel like she might just have the advantage here being on the outside of Chubb Wagon, possibly having to take back if Chubb Wagon does out-sprint her a little bit early. So that's my take on the pace scenario in here.
You think she's the speed of the speed?
I think Don't Let Sweet Fool You can be in front of Chubb Wagon if she gets away well, which she has done in the past. I just thought the Barbara Fritchie was kind of a tough race. I spoke with Lacey Godet afterwards, and she said that was just a non-performance, that they were putting a line through, they were coming back in here fresh, and Lacey didn't mention she is getting Lasix back on in here as well, which she didn't have in the grade 3 Barbara Fritchie. Could have explained her struggling to finish down the lane. The number 8 towards the outside, I use French Empire underneath because what if there is a pace duel? I'd love for a closer to set it up here, but you use the number 2 Casual in that spot. For the same reason,
the same
right?
thought process. I thought that Casual actually ran pretty well in the carousel last time out behind Edgeway. She faced the super tough Kamari 2 starts back for Wesley Ward, and she'd been pretty sharp last time in the carousel watching that race. She's always a filly that I've liked, and I think she's better when she can kind of make that late run. And Ricardo Santana going to be aboard once again for Steve Asmussen, who has some very strong chances throughout the day.
Steve Asmussen, heavy-handed coming into this stellar card at Pimlico. And the number 2 Casual, she tried in vain to closing to 2 slow fractions, 2 slow pace setups in the carousel and the Spring Fever. I feel like the pace setup is going to be in her favor. The flow she's going to like. I use her underneath as well for the aforementioned reasons. Race number 10, the Jim McKay Turf Sprint, 5 furlong flash on the turf. Very excited for that one. Both of us use the number 4, the Critical Way. Jose Delgado's Luis Saez remaining aboard here on this speed horse, but in the Shakertown, outside draw had to come over, joined Johnny Unleashed at the front, kind of hung into it a little bit, a bit of a battle going on there, wasn't able to finish as strongly when a couple of closes came and got them.
Well, he ran against the likes of Bound for Nowhere and Imprimis, so I'm not going to give him a hard time about that. He also beat Imprimis 2 starts back in the Turf Dash there at Tampa when they went 20-4 and 43-2 for the early fractions, which is incredibly fast. So I think that he's just a very, very good horse. Even when he ran in the Janus behind Imprimis, an Extravagant Kid who would go on to win in Dubai as well in the turf sprint there. So he's the class, I think, of the field. He has speed. He's a very, very quick horse, and he's able to sustain it. And he takes his show on the road, too. I mean, in multiple tracks, wherever he goes, he always runs his race.
And the number 1 Bull, they're jumping from the rail, for Steve Asmussen, who we keep bringing up here. So many good horses he's brought to Pimlico. Boulder ran against Maven. Now, I know Maven is a Group 3 Prix de Bois victor in France. A tough race that day, ridden to get close to the pace. But what a stout-looking sprinter. We've seen him here in the mornings. He really has caught my eye.
And last time out, Maven wired the field. While this one was definitely second best, he was way ahead of the rest of the field, that was kind of the target, was Maven the whole time. And I appreciated that he was able to stay on and didn't fade, chasing that very fast horse in front of him. I thought that potentially he could be a closer. And I have respect, too, for Completed Pass to the outside, who won the King Leatherberry last time out. He's in good form, though we'll have to work out a trip from the outside post.
Yeah, that outside post is doing him no favors in this spot, but he was very, very strong in the King Leatherberry indeed. Race number 11, the Maryland Sprint Match Series, 6 furlongs on the main track. Acacia, you use the number 5 as your top selection, Strike Power. Now, Santana, I'm most likely going to say he is going to send this 6-year-old forward. Outbroke the field in a Count Fleet sprint before No Parole took over. He was in the clear all the way, kind of struggled to see it out, but he ran against some of the best sprinters in the country.
He has. Facing CZ Rocket and Whitmore last time out, I dare say this is a bit of class relief for him after running against those two. He is a very quick horse. I remember seeing him actually at the start of his career when he won the Swale at Gulfstream, and they've been able to keep him sprinting, which is what he wants to do, and he's very, very quick. Now, you wonder what Breezy Gus is going to try to do. I just don't think he's quite as fast out of the gate as Strike Power is. I also think that the company that Strike Power has been keeping makes him a standout in this spot.
Yeah, talking about good company, I use Special Reserve, who ran second to Flagstaff, who came back to win the Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes over 7 furlongs. Now is getting back to the 6 furlongs, but was very strong 2 starts back, winning over exactly that distance. Will be going third off the claim for Mike Maker, who has been, cleaning up with the horses that he's claimed. Very, very sharp when it comes to gaining new horses in his barn.
Well, you look at the likes of Aquaphobia, who he claimed it became a Grade 1 winner. Zulu Alpha was a former claiming horse. Just so many horses that he's been able to claim and take them and be successful with. And then you have horses like Army Wife yesterday, who won the Black Eyed Susan. So a barn that does a lot of things very, very well. Irad Ortiz going to be aboard this one, who does have some natural speed as well. I thought that the number 4 Frosted Grace, a horse I've always had an affinity for, and not a winning type, which is why I didn't end up including him in the pick 5. But this is a horse that always shows up and always grabs a share. I thought at a pretty big price he could potentially grab a piece. And we have to give some love to the old Lakai, who we did see win on Preakness weekend last year in the De France Dash.
Yeah, 8-year-old Lakai is looking young as ever. I saw him on the track the other day, and I had to ask Nick De Lodovico, son of trainer Dame De Lodovico, who that was, because I didn't recognize him. He was bucking. He was fresh on the muscle. Love to see Lakai get a part of this prize money here as well. Race number 12, the Dinner Party, the oldest stakes race in the Mid-Atlantic, mile and 16 on the turf here. And Acacia, you go with the number 3, Kuramada here. Chad Brown, lots of upside, relatively unexposed in comparison to some of the others in this field. Irad Ortiz remains on board, go-to rider for Chad Brown. How are we placing this 4-year-old in the field? I can tell where you've put him.
Yes, I like him on top. Well, Sacred Life is Chad's other horse, who's the morning line favorite, who I see you tossed completely. I ended up using him 3rd coming out of that Grade 1 try. But Kuramata was the other Chad that I did prefer. Now, it is interesting when you look at his European form when he started his career in Great Britain. He was owned by Peter Brandt then, too. So Peter Brandt has owned him all along. He had a setback, clearly, and had a long time away from the races. Came back and won at Tampa. Don't take that as a negative. Chad Brown runs horses at Tampa and at Gulfstream throughout the winter. It's not that the second string ran at Tampa. Then last time out, he's a smaller, kind of European-looking type of horse, but I thought he ran a huge race and really pulled away nicely, beating his stablemate Lahara as well.
Yeah, I think he's a very, very progressive type. The number 5, Sacred Life. Now, I didn't toss him completely.
Oh, there he is.
I had him in my exacta.
I was looking at the 6. I'm sorry, my fault.
I do have him in my exacta. Has the strongest turn of foot of any in this field. I really think that he's the class act to beat in this spot. We do have a video of his efforts in the Maker's Mark Mile, where he was up against the likes of Raging Bull, and he looked very strong there, trying to make his run.
Yeah, we're both trying to beat him, so we'll put it that way. Now, he is a horse that came off of a layoff and right into Grade 1 company, so obviously he's kept the best company there. He finished up on his left lead, which I really wasn't a fan of last time out. Now, Raging Bull ran one of the best turf races that we've seen this year, I think, in this Maker's Mark Mile. So finishing 3rd, he's there the 4 in the pink cap down on the rail. I thought was an okay finish, but given the company that he's faced and maybe now second off the bench, could be stronger.
Exactly, class act in the field. I'm trying to beat all of them with a price play. The number 8, Bye Melvin, 10-1 morning line for trainer Graham Motion. Last time out, that 3rd allowance level at Keeneland, he was tracking a strong pace and he was all out in the stretch. Looked like he was holding on, but he got nailed on the wire. To me, he did all the work that day. Second after a bit of a break here is a half sister to a hard knocking Mary, Mean Mary. I'm taking my chances here with hopefully a bit of progression once off the bench.
Poor Bye Melvin has not had any luck with the post position draw.
No.
His last 3 races, he's been stuck outside, and he's outside again today, but in post 8, so it's not nearly as bad as what he's had to deal with lately.
I think he's got some tactical speed to hopefully navigate himself a good position there, and Johnny Velasquez is very good at doing so as well, so I have faith in Johnny in that spot. Race number 13, you know what time it is. When we say race number 13, that means our feature race of the year. The Grade 1 Preakness Stakes, middle jewel of the Triple Crown. And Acacia, you and I use similar horses in different order, but let's have a look at the Kentucky Derby, where we see a couple horses coming back in here. Midnight Bourbon ran in there, Medina Spirit, Keep Me in Mind.
Well, looking here at Midnight Bourbon, who was the 10, that's who you really want to keep your eyes on. Keep Me in Mind kind of sat in the gate, but Midnight Bourbon was the one who was really taken out of his element, really kind of lost control of his hind end there at the break. A very awkward start for him. Keep Me in Mind is typically a closer, but Midnight Bourbon is the type of horse that will typically be up or on the lead. However, it was Medina Spirit in the red cap there on the inside who wired the field. The top 4 went like that. It was basically a carousel around the racetrack. I can't see that happening here in the Preakness.
I agree with you here. I don't think Medina Spirit is going to get an easy lead like he did that day. Of course, a brilliant masterpiece of a ride by Johnny Velasquez, but I think his stablemate Concert Tour on the outside, the number 10, is going to try and outgun him early and at least press the issue.
Well, like we've heard said all along, they're both from the same barn, but different owners. So for Gary and Mary West, who own Concert Tour, you want to be able to give them and their horse their best chance, and that is to use his best weapon, which is his speed from the outside, where Mike Smith will be able to let the race unfold to his inside.
Yeah, and I got the chance to catch up with Johnny Velasquez before the draw, and he was saying he wanted to be on the outside of Concert Tour so that he could be dominating whatever is going on his inside. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Hence, I give the slight nod to the number 10 Concert Tour. Looking phenomenal on track in the mornings. He's giving me authentic vibes. Very sort of long, leggy, tall, really your two-turn type of horse that I like seeing here. So I'm going to go with the number 10 on top, but you already kind of made your case on the number 5 Midnight Bourbon. Really didn't get to run in the Kentucky Derby at all after that start, being kind of knocked sideways. Apparently Mike Smith told Steve Asmussen that he lost his hind end and hence all his speed was gone.
Yes, he was taken out of his comfort zone there, and especially when you have horses that have a particular style of running, they're not able to really overcome that. Historically in the Kentucky Derby, too, the horses that are forwardly placed are the ones that have the major advantage. Midnight Bourbon had none of that given to him. It seems like there's a lot that are on the train for Midnight Bourbon this weekend, so hopefully it's not too much weight for him to carry. He's a very spirited individual. He got loose on the backside before the Kentucky Derby, schooled many, many times. Steve Asmussen himself schooled him here at Pimlico. And while he's still energetic, you can tell that mentally they've really been working on it and that he has progressed, which is definitely a benefit. I think the distance will be no problem for him.
I agree with that. The number 4 Crowded Trade you use in your exacta here. Chad Brown trainee is going to possibly get the jump on the closers. Is it sort of more of a mid-pack horse here? Do you think you need to be in front here at Pimlico to get the win in the Preakness?
No, I don't think you do. I mean, we really did see Inside Speed be very good yesterday, so we'll have to see how things play out today. However, Crowded Trade, I think, doesn't really need to be as far back as he was last time, and it was an interesting run race with Bourbonic making that last late run. I think Dynamic One actually ran the best race of the field, having hit the front early on. But Crowded Trade, we've said it before, he's interesting. He has almost the exact same trajectory as Chad's 2017 Preakness winner, Cloud Computing, did, in that he broke his maiden at Aqueduct first out, was second in the Gotham, and third in the Wood Memorial. So we'll see if lightning can strike twice.
As we'll finish things up here with the Arabian race, also a grade 1 event, race 14, Mawan 16 on the main track, the UAE President's Cup. And Acacia, you use the 10, the 6, the 8, and the 3. I'm going with the 8, the 3, the 10, and the 6, as we'll head over to lightning round to reflect on some of the action of yesterday. I can't reiterate this enough. The day has arrived. It is Preakness time, the 146th running of the middle jewel of the Triple Crown, back in its usual slot. We've already discussed the field, so much to look forward to, though. Let's have a look back at what happened yesterday in the Black-Eyed Susan, the number 1 Army Wife, a filly that we both loved, got the win.
She did, and it was a great ride by Joelle Rosario. I have to tip my hat to Lady Traveler, though. She ran the best race of her life yesterday for Dale Romans as she set the pace. Joelle Rosario had Army Wife not too far behind, was able to pounce, and she was much best in this spot, pulling away really easily. I love this, eased up down to the wire and going that 1 1/8 distance. It will be really interesting if we do get to see her run against Malathot and Search Results down the road and making this 3-year-old filly division very strong.
Oh, that would be such a treat of a race if we get the chance to see Search Result, Malafat, and now Army Wife reoppose again. The last judgment, though, in the special, all the way there. Master ride by Jose Ortiz, and this 5-year-old gelding gave him everything he had. Mike Maker claimed this horse for $62,500. Quite the claim.
Well, I remember speaking to co-owner Michael Dubb after the Sunshine Classic when he won there, because I said to Mike, this horse looks like he wants to go a distance of ground, but he's been sprinting most of his career. And Mike Dubb said we claimed him with the thought of being able to run him long, and he is a Florida bred, so races like the Sunshine Classic were appealing. They ran him in the Pegasus World Cup on a pretty quick turnaround, but he seems like he's now had a little bit of a freshening. I loved that he had that after a tough campaign coming into this race and took them every step of the way.
Yeah, next up is the Miss Preakness. We had a couple of photo finishes throughout the day. It was a very, very tough call. They were all joined at the hip on the wire, but Red Ghost, Johnny Velasquez, just in time got her nose in front, but not taking anything away from the number 8, Euphoric, and the number 9, Joyful Cadence, both running their hearts out.
Well, right here, Red Ghost is kind of stopped. She looked like she was fading, and John Velasquez kept after her, and she was able to just get the bob and get her nose down to the wire. I think Euphoric ran a heck of a race coming out of the 8 bells, much better than I thought that she would, and it looks like she's going to have a very big year ahead of her.
Yeah, one other photo finish was in the very 1 Stakes, 5 furlong on the turf. We saw Caravel, the local horse trained by Elizabeth Merriman, Florent Giroux, trying to get through. You can see there the grey filly trying to make her run there, but when he got through at the right time.
And I heard Florent say to Lizzie Merriman afterwards, I think 5 is a touch short. And I would agree with that. She looks like maybe 6, 7 furlongs might be the best for her, having just a little bit more ground to work with. And big congratulations to owner, trainer, and breeder Elizabeth Merriman. Of course, the Merrimans well known here in the Mid-Atlantic area, and I'm sure that's extra sweet for Lizzie and the team to be able to have had your hands on this filly right from the beginning.
Couldn't be more pleased for the connection. Congratulations to all of them again. As last Friday was also Stronach 5 time, and we had a big payout for a lucky 3 that got the winning tickets, $40,000 each. Acacia, wouldn't you mind having that?
No, I would be happy for that. I was so focused on Pimlico that I didn't end up playing it myself, but congratulations if you had it. Pete Aiello says it's Overlay City, and this is why. Yes, you had a big priced horse at Golden Gate Fields, but the rest kind of a logical sequence with some decent prices in there. $40,000 Stronach 5. It's always a really fun wager, and we hope you played, and we'll look forward to playing it again next time.
Yeah, and Acacia and I will be joining you again this afternoon to try and pick you some winners for this 14-strong race card headlined by the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes. And next up will be Dave Rotman with scratches and changes.